So Dave, you're known for running a very big business, one of the most admired businesses in the UK. But back in 1993, you were co-founder of Wave Driver, a startup in the electric and hybrid vehicle powertrain business. If you wanted to set up a new manufacturing or engineering business today with not a lot of capital, what would you be doing?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Just touching on the Wave Driver, we developed power electronics inverter systems. We're from a very small team. It's three of us who started it. We had these concepts of basically inverter drive systems that you could use for regenerative braking and charging of the batteries as well. We took the concept around. People like Ford and GM in the States and the Japanese, they liked it, but said you have to put it in a vehicle to prove it. So we ended up building some demo vehicles. And from those demo vehicles, because of packaging, it was easier to do it in delivery vehicles. And then we ended up realizing that passenger cars wasn't the market. It was much too difficult, that the niche markets were much more accommodating and interesting. And so we ended up developing electric buses, putting them into, we had some hybrid buses running around the Sydney Olympics. We had some buses in Italy. I had buses in Glasgow, Camden Community Transport in London, had some buses around. And we did all this from a team of, we had some in Brazil as well. We actually put them in Sao Paulo in Brazil. And we did this from a team that built up to 70 people. And it started off small. We obviously had backing. So the company I worked for, we ended up splitting out of that company and been put into a joint venture with PowerGen, who funded half of it. And so they put 15 million in at the time. And then partway through, they bought the whole company out. So we did have some parent backing, which was really helpful. But really what we did was had a very dynamic culture, very lean. Everybody had a job to do and everybody did everybody else's job as well. So if somebody wasn't there, you'd cover them. You know, nobody was too proud to pick up the phone and answer it because we didn't have a receptionist, all those sort of things. So very lean structure on that. A culture of really good people. And it was that philosophy of surround yourself by people who are better than you. So I did that very early on. Got some incredibly bright people working with me. And you'd have to tell them to go home at night because they just wouldn't go home because they love what they do. So get the culture right, get the people in, be really lean on the things that you don't need. Only spend the money on the things that are going to get you on your mission, that are mission critical. And so, that was a very, successful. We got the product into production. It was just rather sad that in 1998, it would have been, having done all these things, PowerGen decided there was no future in electric vehicles and decided to close the business. So in terms of a case study for strategic mishap or whatever, I think that's a classic one, because if that business had been around today, then it would have been floated and worth hundreds of millions. So I think if somebody was starting today, you've got the advantage that if you're in the right sector, and I'd recommend anybody gets into the ESG related sectors, the environmental push that's going on across the world and climate change, decarbonisation, if you're in that space, it's going to be a very hot market looking for new technologies, new products, and the customers are quite ready to test new products. And we've seen that from electric scooters and all sorts of things, and vertical aircraft, built on drone technology. The public is ready for new technology. There's a hunger for it and acceptance. So if you're in those space, number one, I think you've got your time is good. You've picked a good time. You're in a buoyant market. You will find that there are people out there who can back you. There are government funding grants available, particularly in the decarbonisation space, whether it's energy, transport or whatever. So go after the government grants. They are really supportive. The government is really keen to help. If you're looking for funding, you'll probably find the banks quite funding, but also venture capital, PE firms are very, very keen in this modern technology. So if you're in a modern technology and you're in that environmental aspect, you'll probably find funding won't be too difficult to come by. But you've got to make sure that you do run the business lean, tight, and focused on that value-added part. If you're not in that, it doesn't mean it's a business that's not going to succeed. Just that market's a particularly hot one. I think if you start up in, defence, aerospace or whatever your technology, maybe not so hot right now, it's about making sure you've got something that is different from the competition. Never compete on price, compete on value add and technology, because there's always somebody hungrier than you around the world who will do it cheaper. And sadly, some of the large customers don't have national buying preferences. You know, they are driven by getting the best price they possibly can. And you can see that in the automotive industry in the UK with the thinning out the tier one industry. You know, it's global. So if you are a small business starting up, have passionate people, low overheads, a product that really is differentiated from other people, and don't be shy of taking advice and partnering with people who do things you can't. So I've worked with companies that try to do everything. You know, even McLaren, you see it in the car companies, quite often they'll try and do their own sat-nav systems. And there are people out there who are experts in that. Go partner with them, go license theirs, go license TomTom, Garmin or whatever. You know, if it's an infotainment system, go partner with Bang & Olufsen or whoever you want. Don't try and do things that other people have spent a life doing. So don't be afraid of partnering. Don't be afraid of getting people around you who are better than you, because they're going to help you be successful. And also have a good view on what is my route to market, because often you have technology startups and people often call them their technology startups, but really technology is only useful if there's a route to market. So have a view on how am I going to supply my component, technology, whatever it is. Am I going to do it through IP? Am I going to become a manufacturer myself? Am I going to license technology for someone else to manufacture? Because if you're selling to, say, a car company, they're buying an insurance policy. They want to know that your technology, if they put it in their product of 100,000 units per year, isn't going to create 100,000 problems for them. So the route to market is really important. And a lot of technology startups, from my experience, don't really realize technology is great, but it's the route to market. It's that manufacturing and sales channels that are equally, if not more important, as you grow.